same way that there can be varying degrees of experiencing this quote unquote Kundalini awakening sort of thing. So just for people listening, just be aware when you have those sensations and try and bring yourself into a space where you can have them more often than not is what I would definitely suggest. But yeah, going back to what I was referring to, the idea of not only creating, also kind of two things at once, creating sacred space within, and also daily rituals to bring magic into our daily life and to be able to transform it in that sense. How do you feel that sort of plays a role in all of this flow?
I think that creating rituals in our lives allows us to create a deeper sacred space within and outside of ourselves. And I think that there's many ways to cultivate sacred space within, and I would say the most direct is meditation. And, for example, the practice of yoga, that was developed so that all of the energy all the kinks moved out of the body so that the body can sit for a long time in meditation and access that deepest sacred space within. So it's very important to learn how to cultivate that within ourselves. And each of us needs something different in order to access that. And I think that creating small rituals or by creating altars in your home, in your car, at your work, everywhere you are, and also I'm going to take a breath here. This is a big topic. It's really exciting.
It is exciting.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the ritual of having an altar space, because that's something that really has transformed my own life, and I directly see the power of it in creating a space of magic and also inspiring the sacred space within every time you see or are around your altar. And an altar can be anything. There's no clear definition of what that is, besides that it's something that is representing a sacred space, right? So you can have an altar that's like a plant and your football jersey. You could have an altar that's multiple crystals and candles, many, many different religious traditions build altars. There's all kinds of deities that people build altars to, and when I build altars, I build them not to any particular deity, but really to just the highest level of universal consciousness. You can call that God, you can call that creator, you can call that source, you can call that my highest self. There's all of these names that we can do. And then when I create the altar, I also often will call in other energies of assistance, such as the elements like fire, air, water, earth, or the angelic realm and the archangels, and I take each piece that I put on my altar and I set some kind of intention of what that piece is representing. And so the final product of an altar is a very powerful vortex of intention if you do it while aligning your intention the whole time. So you can create altars of monetary abundance and put dollars on it or 20s on it and just like align with the intention of calling in more money. You can create altars that represent just anything you can imagine, really. It's accessing the imagination realm, which is really the essence of what shamanism is accessing the possibility of multi-dimensional reality. And by creating an altar, we bring this energy into physical form, and we create a physical reminder that can bring us to that space every time we see it or are near it, or we sit in meditation in front of it. And creating an altar was a really important part of my yoga training. I did my yoga teacher training in San Diego at the Soul of Yoga, and part of my training was meditation. It was a lot of meditation, and our teachers told us that in order to really create a sacred space for ourselves in meditation, we should always create an altar, and if we're traveling, we should bring something that can remind us of that deepest sacred space of pure connection to the creative source.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what I get out of that is definitely the importance of having that reminder. I think that is kind of like how this reality works. Reality sort of works in the sense that it's almost like a bunch of portals. And I've talked about this before, but like one thing leads to another thing. You think one idea and it brings you to something else. You do an action and it leads to a reaction. And in this case, you have an altar, and by looking at the altar, you are reminded of a particular thought that, in this case, like you're saying, the altar represents something that is either related to a specific intention, or it's simply just connecting you to that place of well-being and calmness and higher confidence and guidance. And again, like I like what you're saying, and emphasizing the idea that now, especially in this day and age, for people who are sort of resonating with the idea of creating altars, it's definitely something that does not have to be dogmatic at all. I mean, everybody's altar should look different, and what you put on that altar is whatever resonates with you. And I mean, for me, like my altar is almost like the top of my computer desk, so to speak, and it's almost like a compilation of different trinkets from my past that have specific meaning for me, that represent different aspects of myself, that represent different accomplishments I've achieved, and even simple things like pine cones and crystals that I have on my altar. And these things, they're all reminders of specific ideas. And through these